Hey, Jason, Scott Sambucci here over at NayaOne. I'm talking you through the PDF file so that as you're sharing this internally, or even if you want to share this audio and video along with your colleagues, you're welcome to do that. So it's just a walkthrough of the platform as well as a walkthrough of the specific use case that you and I had talked about. So just starting from the beginning, what do? Well, we make it easy to run rapid POCs. On the left is what we call the old way, where someone like you or someone within a different business unit within a large organization, especially a financial institution, you might find a vendor or a handful of vendors and spend a lot of time running those vendors through third-party risk management, risk, security, compliance, procurement, legal, just to get a place where you could run a POC with those vendors. In many large institutions, we see that takes anywhere from 3 to 12 months. Then on top of that, you're actually running the POC because you don't oftentimes have a structured way of running and organizing those POCs. Whereas the new way in NayaOne, because we are air gapped and separate away from the institution, you could find multiple vendors, pull those vendors into our sandbox environment or your version of our sandbox environment, and very quickly run a POC in 2 to 4 weeks. So what this does, of course, is opens up the funnel, allows you to test more frequently, allows you to test multiple vendors because you're not worried about throttling the system or taxing the system of approvals, so that you could very quickly test new technology as it's made available to you, or you're made aware of that tech. So how exactly does that work? Well, pretty simple in a lot of ways. So over here on the left, imagine your environment. So within the walls of Cincinnati Financial, you've got your data security, cloud, databases, architecture, system, service, everything else sitting inside the walls of that regulated institution. NayaOne and our platform is external to that. The phrase we use is that it's air gapped. So our environment, which includes the testing sandbox as well as a marketplace and data sets, are available for you. Hey, little glitch in the audio. So available for you to very quickly run those rapid POCs, because none of the vendors that you're testing need to be run through third-party risk management because we're external. So let me walk you through each of these three parts of the platform and then walk you through the claims example that you and I had chatted about. So part one of our platform is the marketplace. This is where we pre-vet tech vendors. And when we talk about our pre-vetting process, there's two primary vetting mechanisms. Number one, we're testing the technology, meaning if, for example, if it's API driven, we're testing the APIs to make sure those APIs work. If it's UI driven, we're testing to make sure that the user interface actually works. Really what we want to know, and for you and your team, is that if there's a piece of tech inside of our marketplace, that you know that it's real working software, not vaporware or demoware or brochureware or boothware, whatever you want to call it. The second vetting mechanism we run is a series of pre-procurement screening questions. So we'll ask all of our vendors questions around enterprise readiness, such as SOC 2 audits and ISO certifications, disaster recovery plans. So again, if you find a vendor through our marketplace, you will be confident, or should be confident, that there's a high likelihood that those vendors, should you want to move forward with them after running a POC, that there's some confidence they would actually make it through your procurement process. Now, of course, aside from those pre-vetted tech vendors, you always have the ability to invite vendors you're working with, not already in our marketplace. You just simply invite them into your sandbox environment so that you can run those POCs. So either way works, whether you find them through us or you bring your own vendor. Part two is the data library. So inside the platform, you can both source and generate synthetic data sets for these vendor assessments and POCs. So we have a whole library of pre-built data sets. And then, of course, we have the ability to create synthetic data that looks and matches and feels and behaves just like Cincinnati Financial data. So we are creating those synthetic data sets based on data models, data dictionaries, and other characteristics. We're not looking or touching any of that data, which makes CISOs very, very happy, and chief data officers very, very happy, because you never have to worry about your data being shared external to Cincinnati Financial for us to create those synthetic data sets. The synthetic data can be both tabular in format, data coming out of a database, or of course, we can also do synthetic identification documents. We can also create PDF documents, and any of the documents that are common in the insurance industry are all documents that we've created in the past as well. So once those synthetic data documents are created, then you could pull that data into your secure digital sandbox where you pull in your vendors, provide them the data set, and then run your proof of concept inside of that secure environment. So we also have the ability to run UX, UI, UAT testing inside the sandbox. And our sandbox is cloud agnostic. So you could spin up any cloud environment. You can spin up testing inside of different IDEs, different emulators. So there's a lot of flexibility because we're agnostic to any of these other platforms. So you could test the same vendor in multiple clouds, or even spin up and test new cloud environments that you might not have access to already. So how does that look for an example of a claims automation project that we've seen? So a typical problem that is facing a lot of large PNC carriers right now is how they are handling daily flows of claim requests and claim information. So you take a first notice of loss or core docs, claims liability notices, other PDFs. A lot of insurance companies have an inbox or multiple inboxes. I've heard of as many as 14 inboxes where they are receiving emails from agents, brokers, customers every single day requesting information about a claim. And so this is an area, of course, where now you're receiving those emails, and then a human is opening up every single email, reading the document, reading the email, and then deciding what is the next best action. Now, obviously, there's room for improvement and a way to automate this process. So this is an example where you might want to test a number of different vendors that could help across a value chain with this. So one example would be some OCR vendors that are designed to extract information out of PDFs and then categorize and structure that unstructured data. So this is a case where you could go to our marketplace plus bring vendors of your own. And then basically you're selecting your vendors and pulling them into your sandbox environment. Secondly, we then could create synthetic data sets and synthetic data documents for use in those tests. Thirdly, we'd help you establish the proof of concept KPIs, both from a business standpoint and a technical standpoint, and then set the timeline for that POC. So each of the vendors would know exactly when this POC is running, when it's ending. And most of the projects we run happen within 2 to 4 weeks time. So there's that rapid piece. And then finally, once that POC is completed, we provide a project summary report. So you have clear visibility and reporting around what was tested, who was tested, what the results were. One other thing I'll mention is that many of our customers are using our sandbox environment for hackathons. So FCA, which is the SEC equivalent over in the UK, has been customers for a while. So they're running an AI lab using our sandbox. We've had Swift run hackathon using digital asset themed hackathon, where you can see they had 150 participants, 25 teams from different financial institutions and technology providers. And most recently, we had Barclays run a Gen AI hackathon where they made Gen AI solutions available to their employees inside of our sandbox because it's safe, secure, and air gapped, because otherwise they would not be allowed to touch or use those Gen AI solutions. So we brought those vendors in, we provided them with a synthetic data set. They had over 1,100 participants, 140 teams across 9 locations for 48 hours. And their finalists were then moved to POC development within the bank. So we love seeing the public posts. So this is Craig Bright, who is a group CIO, who was primarily responsible for this hackathon. And we love getting these kinds of pictures shown on LinkedIn and other public places. And these are all hackathons that were driven and powered by NayaOne. So that's the overview. Again, feel free to share this deck and my audio overview with your colleagues. Whatever questions you have, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we will talk soon. See ya.